Hello and welcome to WION Live Broadcast from London. I'm Ollie Barrett and these are the headlines. Ukraine suffers sweeping blackouts and water supplies are cut for 80% of Kiev residents after Ukrainian officials claim another massive Russian missile attack on energy facilities. Cargo ships loaded with grain and other agricultural products leave Ukrainian ports, despite Russia's decision to pull out from the deal designed to ease the global food crisis. Eurozone economic growth falls to 0.2% in the third quarter as inflation hits another record high on the back of soaring energy prices. Iran will hold public trials of around 1,000 people charged in Tehran over unrest as authorities step up efforts to crush protests ignited by Mahsa Amini's death in custody. And India's cricket star Virat Kohli says his privacy was invaded after people entered his hotel room in Perth and posted video of his belongings on social media. A migrant centre in the UK's southern port of Dover has been attacked as a migrant crisis for the UK government grows. A man threw petrol bombs attached to fireworks at the centre for processing migrants. He was later found dead nearby in an apparent suicide. According to one witness, the attacker threw 3 petrol bombs, one of which failed to go off. Police say the motive for the attack is not yet known. Officials are not treating it as a terrorist incident. It comes as criticism grows towards the government over its migrant policies. Charities and human rights groups say asylum seekers are being treated inhumanely and kept in very poor conditions. Some government critics also insist it has not got on top of the issue of people making their way to the UK across the English Channel in small boats. Nearly 1,000 migrants arrived in the UK on the 29th of October in that way, according to official figures. The data suggests nearly 40,000 have arrived in the UK so far this year, crossing the world's busiest shipping route in dinghies and small boats. Earlier, it was revealed the UK government is spending almost $8.1 million on hotels for asylum seekers. Officials of the head of a watchdog have described conditions in one migrant processing centre at Manston as wretched. Meanwhile, there are hints of a U-turn over the decision that new UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak won't attend next month's COP27 climate summit in Egypt. Downing Street said last week that he would be focusing instead on domestic challenges, but now reports suggest Rishi Sunak wants to go to the summit if he can fit it into his schedule. Former Premier Boris Johnson has reportedly expressed an inclination to attend, and the government's COP representative Alok Sharma expressed his disappointment that Rishi Sunak would not be going. Climate activists have also criticised the Prime Minister, insisting that non-attendance would suggest the UK is not taking climate action seriously enough. King Charles has been advised by Downing Street not to attend the event, at which the UK will hand over its COP presidency to Egypt. However, the King will be hosting a pre-conference reception at Buckingham Palace ahead of the COP27 summit bringing together 200 business leaders, politicians and campaigners.
We will have, no doubt, robust exchanges, but I hope that they can also be serious and grown up. So I look forward to it. Well, he asked about the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary made...
Brazil has elected Lula da Silva to return as president a decade after leaving office. The president-elect defeated the right-wing incumbent Jair Bolsonaro, who returned 49.1% of the vote. Soon after the announcement, Lula da Silva called for peace and unity, saying that Brazil would no longer be an international pariah and that the world needs what he calls a living Amazon.
Today we are telling the world that Brazil is back, that Brazil is too big to be relegated to the sad role of pariah of the world.
Lula has reached out in his victory speech to supporters and rivals alike. He's talked of the need for democracy and opportunity and gender and racial equality. He says he will deal urgently with a hunger crisis affecting 33.1 million Brazilians.
I'm here to govern this country in a very difficult situation, but I have faith in God that with the help of the people, we will find a way out so that this country may live again democratically and harmoniously.
Para que esse país volte a viver democraticamente, harmonicamente.
From UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Joe Biden, congratulations have been coming internationally towards Lula on his victory. Several blasts have rocked the Ukrainian capital. At least 5 explosions have been heard in Kiev this morning, local time. Kiev's mayor says parts of the city are without electricity and water following the Russian strikes. Ukrainian officials say Russian forces pounded energy facilities across Ukraine with missiles. This comes after Russia said 16 Ukrainian drones attacked the fleet in the Black Sea in the annexed Crimean Peninsula. According to Russia's defense ministry, the drones used to attack Russian ships were equipped with Canadian-made parts. Russia says, as a result, it's pulled out of the landmark agreement that allowed vital grain shipments via a maritime safety corridor. The July deal to unlock grain exports is critical to easing the global food crisis caused by the Ukraine conflict. That deal was brokered by Turkey and the United Nations. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says his country will continue its efforts over the Black Sea grain export deal despite Russian hesitancy.
By helping to establish a joint mechanism in Istanbul, we reduced the food crisis by putting 9.3 tons of Ukrainian grain at the world's disposal. Even if Russia behaves hesitantly because it didn't receive the same benefits, we will continue decisively our efforts to serve humanity.
To China now, where operations have been suspended at Shanghai's Disney resort because of COVID-19. All visitors were told to stay in the park until they tested negative. The Shanghai government announced the park was barring people from entering or exiting, and that anyone who's visited since October the 27th will have to take a test 3 times in 3 days. In Zhengzhou, it's claimed strict COVID rules have led some migrant workers to flee from iPhone maker Foxconn's factory. Authorities quarantined an unknown number of employees after an outbreak. Apple supplier Foxconn said it would not stop workers from leaving, but videos have been shared on Chinese social media platforms claiming to show Foxconn workers climbing over fences. In Wuhan, Chinese officials have deployed the military to enforce COVID lockdown. Authorities in China also continue to use robo-cops, patrolling to scan people's temperatures and, if they're high, sending them for a COVID test. Over 130 people have been killed and over 100 injured after a hanging bridge collapsed in the western Indian state of Gujarat. According to authorities, over 500 people were near the bridge at the time of the incident. Gujarat authorities have filed a criminal case against the contractor and management who renovated the bridge.
પુલમાં વધુ પ્રકાર માણસો છે પથરાવ જમીન પાસે ત્યાં સુધી કોઈ વાહન પહોંચી શકે તેમ નથી ઈ નદીના બીજા છેડે છે
दीपावली की छुट्टी हुई थी बच्चों लोगों के और जो भी घूमने के लिए यहाँ पर आए हुए थे सभी एक के ऊपर एक थोड़ा पुल के अंदर ज़्यादा लोग होने की वजह से टूटने की वजह से ये घटना हुई है.
The collapse of the colonial-era suspension bridge sent hundreds falling into the river below. Most of the deaths came as a result of drowning. Many women and children died in the incident. The supporting cables of the bridge snapped, causing the collapse.
सरकार हर तरह से पीड़ित परिवारों के साथ है. गुजरात सरकार पूरी शक्ति से कल शाम से ही राहत और बचाव कार्यों में जुटी हुई है. केंद्र सरकार की तरफ से भी राज्य सरकार को पूरी मदद दी जा रही है. बचाव कार्य में एनडीआरएफ की टीमों को लगाया गया है. सेना और वायुसेना भी राहत के काम में जुटी हुई है. जिन लोगों का अस्पताल में इलाज चल रहा है वहां भी पूरी मुस्तैदी बरती जा रही है.
The state government's announced compensation of over $4,000. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced a package of over $2,000 for the families of the victims. Gujarat authorities say the Prime Minister is likely to visit the site of the bridge collapse on Tuesday. The bridge had only reopened on October the 26th after 7 months of repair work. It didn't have a safety certificate. Local authorities say the bridge was reopened without official permission. Rescue operations continue at the site of the collapse. Boats and divers have been deployed to search for missing people. The army has also been called in to assist. South Korea is in mourning after more than 150 people died in a stampede in the capital. The country's prime minister is promising a thorough investigation into the Halloween crush as South Koreans visit a joint memorial for those who were killed during the incident in Itaewon in central Seoul.
아니요, 좀만 더 지켜줬으면 좋겠는데 국민들이 지켜주지 못한 게 우리 애기들한테 죄스러운 뿐이에요.
군중 통제를 못하고 안전대책이 미흡한 사고이기 때문에 제가 보기엔 이제 안전대책이 더 시급히 강화해야 된다고 저는 생각이 듭니다.
As well as the more than 150 dead, 149 people have been injured. 33 of them are said to be in a serious condition. Citizens from at least 24 countries are among the dead. Tens of thousands of partygoers had crowded into narrow streets and alleyways in Seoul's popular Itaewon district on Saturday. Many of the revellers were in their teens or 20s and dressed in costume. Chaos broke out when people poured into one narrow and sloping alley, which was already packed with people. Shops and cafes nearby have closed and police have cordoned off the site of the incident. Schools, kindergartens and companies around the country have scrapped planned Halloween events. K-pop concerts and government briefings have also been cancelled. After a recent spike in cyberattacks in Australia, the latest is that a communications platform used by the Australian military personnel and defence staff has come under ransomware attack. The ForceNet service is one of the external providers that the Defence Department uses to run one of its websites. According to an official, no data has been compromised so far. According to the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, some private information such as dates of birth and enlistment details of military personnel may have been stolen. Earlier, the telecoms company Optus and the Australia's biggest health insurer Medibank also witnessed a data hack. It's reported these exposed details of millions of customers. Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, has denied reports about the laying off of the company's employees at a date earlier than November the 1st to avoid stock grants. In a response to a Twitter user asking about the reported layoffs, the billionaire tweeted that it's false. Elon Musk's response came after reports of him ordering job cuts across the company emerged. The reports suggested the layoffs at Twitter would take place before November the 1st. That's the day when employees are scheduled to receive stock grants as part of their compensation. Such grants typically represent a significant portion of employees' pay. Elon Musk completed a $44 billion deal to buy Twitter on Thursday. He had earlier told investors that he would take Twitter private, reduce its workforce, roll back on content moderation rules, and find new revenue streams. The protests in Iran have received unprecedented coverage around the world. Given how rare anti-government demonstrations are in Tehran, this kind of backing has meant support for the people there in many forms. Celebrities are not shying away, some of them at least. Coldplay has lauded the courage shown by women protesters in Iran. The band has shared the stage with two Iranian artists to sing an iconic freedom song. That report from Buenos Aires.
Young women and young people are fighting for their freedom, so we fully send our love and support to all of those brave young people fighting for freedom.
این هوای آلوده برای بنی عصر و درختای فرسوده برای پیروز و احتمال انقراضش برای سگهای بیگناه ممنوعه برای گریه های بیوقفه برای تصویر تکرار این لحظه برای آزادی para las mujeres, para la vida, para la libertad. Gracias.
Thank you, everybody. Gracias.
And that's all for today's show. Thank you very much for watching. As ever, I'm Ollie Barrett. Do stay tuned to WION.
This is great, Arab.